Hi, I am Danielle Lumen, and this presentation will be providing justification for the use of technological tools for the purpose of collecting data through formative assessment to direct my instruction. I teach all seniors. My two classes are AP Literature and Composition and 12 Survival of the Fittest. I use formative assessments in different ways for each course, but this particular presentation will focus on the survival class. So what is formative assessment? Formative assessment intends to collect information at all points of the learning process so that both the teacher and the student may address and assess their learning progress and any weaknesses or misunderstandings. We know that student engagement is critical to their educational success, and the students receiving the feedback at regular intervals will increase their role and agency in their own learning. Formative assessment can be done in myriad ways, but today we will be looking at the way technology facilitates its integration into the English classroom. At Southwestern, we use the SAMR model to find tools to advance our instruction to meet ISTE standards. For this particular lesson on tone, I am hovering in the enhancement part of the model, augmenting the traditional paper handout. It's a substitute as well, but I'm able to provide quick and helpful feedback and I can get the feedback from the students that I may not have received with a traditional paper handout, as I may have heard from only the students who feel comfortable raising their hand and contributing. So I want to talk a little bit about the course and why formative assessment is appropriate and how it's used. 12 Survival of the Fittest is a senior elective, which means that they may take the course or they can take another option, but it does count as their English credit. Because of the nature of the course with the super high interest level, I get a very wide range of educational backgrounds in this course, so it's heterogeneous grouping. We have students who are coming up from practical, and I also have students who are coming from the honors track for the last 3 years. So formative assessment is one way that I'm able to gauge all of the students' abilities and where they are in their learning. The course is a blended format course, which for me means that sometimes once a week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes no times a week, my students have the opportunity to work from home if they are caught up with their assignments, they are ahead, they've turned everything in on time, and they've been doing a good job in the class and they don't need any more work. That time I use to remediate the other students. I provide them with more instruction, I reteach, or we just check in and talk about their websites. The website is the final project that the students work on in order to complete the course. It's in lieu of a final exam. They are researching and presenting a website on how to survive a specific scenario or situation. So zombies is always very popular. We also have the, epidemics, and we have the apocalypse. And we also have things like how to survive an alcoholic parent or how to survive a diagnosis of an illness. So formative assessment for that website project is key because they receive no grades for most of the work that they're doing on that website until the end, and so they need that constant feedback throughout the semester so that they know that they're on the right track. So when you are considering creating a formative assessment, there are 3 main questions you should keep in mind. Where am I going? Where am I now? What strategies can help me where I need to go? So for this particular assignment, this tone activity, I would like for all of my seniors to understand what tone is. And the reason that we're doing this, despite having it been taught in many of the other classes, is that tone is notoriously difficult for the students to understand because it's often confused with mood. Mood is the feeling of you as the audience, whereas tone is the attitude of the poet or author or artist towards the topic that they're presenting. So in order for us to get to that understanding of tone, we have to figure out what strategies are going to help. And traditionally I've used a handout, and I wanted to change things up just a little bit this year. The tools I will be evaluating are Formative and Kahoot. The images to the right show you all the ways teachers and students utilize and benefit from these tools. On the right here are some options for additions to the formative document that you would create. As is the case with most educational tools, some of these products options are free. Some are available in a paid upgrade. When you decide which version you need, just check out all the options. Everything that's grayed out is a paid option, so you just want to know what you're getting yourself into. Before we get into using any new tools, it's important to communicate with your students how they should interact with the tool or what your expectations are. So I would be explaining to them how we're using it. Ideally, I would use this one, Formative, in person, but you can also use it in a flipped classroom because of its nature on being online. I also would want to make sure I am clear about the expectations for answers. Do I want complete sentences? Do they need to add a picture? Do they need to just get to the point and answer as succinctly as possible? And I also should share with them how I'm going to use the information. As always, formative assessments are not meant to be graded, scored assessments, but these assignments both do award points for them being correct. So I want to make sure that they know how I'm going to be using this information once I get it. So if you want to, let's take a look at the formative assessment. This is my tone activity. The first 3 questions I would most likely do with them because they're background questions. They're getting them warmed up and interested in the topic. One of the benefits, and I know this sounds silly, is just that I can have color pictures embedded. And it's a great size for the students to read. Otherwise, I would have it in black and white on the handout, or if it's projected up on the board, not all students are able to read it. They certainly can't see this. I actually have to read to them concealer and cover up and so on and so forth. So that's what's nice about the it being in this document. The other thing is I'm actually able to embed both of the videos that I want them to read and analyze. In the past, I've actually had to email them the links, explain what they have to do, and they had the paper handout, and it just got to be a lot of pieces. Here, everything is in the same place. I do have to wait for them to click submit for me to see their answers. So I think I'd probably revise it next time and take out this particular assignment because this takes a little bit longer to complete, and that way I can get the information from the earlier questions before they move on to this, which is a graded assignment. So how do we collect information from formative? Before assigning it, you can do a few things. You have a few options that you can control the results. Not all options are free. Some of the benefits are the instant feedback. Once they've clicked submit, you're able to embed all kinds of elements, questions, images, videos, and this kind of assessment can be given as either a flip lesson or in face-to-face instruction. The template is pretty plain, I will admit, but for free and for me, who's a pretty traditional teacher, it is a great resource. On the left, you can see the students' choices, what they selected for their answer. And then on the right, you can see the correct answers that I selected as the teacher. You'll note that the student answered one correct choice, but if you look over at the teacher version, you can't earn any partial credit unless you pay for that feature. However, as for how you receive your results, look at the top photo. We get our student's name, all of the options that they chose, the grade. We also, if you'll note over here, you are able to override the score. So even if they don't allow partial scoring done by formative itself, you may override the score. You can also type in some feedback. So you can respond, oh, definitely pitying, I disagree with comic and depressed. Down here at the bottom is a snapshot of all of the students' responses. What I wanted to point out here is that you're able to hide the names or sort it A to Z. Hiding names is great if you want to put all of the scores up on the board, but you don't want anyone to be shamed. 1, 2, and 3, 5, 6, and 7 were all short answers, so that's why there's no scores for this awesome student, even though she took the whole quiz and definitely got 100. Number 4 was the question up here where she selected only one of the right answers, but that's okay. Okay, so Kahoot. This is really important. Kahoot is one of those games where students can get very involved, very upset, very everything. So it's really important that you set clear, specific ground rules. No making fun of people. You are not getting up out of your seat to brag if you're in first place. And what is the purpose of using Kahoot? You also want to perhaps think about naming conventions. They have to use their name or they will get kicked out, that kind of thing. Also, the same as as formative, you want to be clear about how you're going to use the outcomes. The benefits of Kahoot, besides it being a game, are very quick feedback, the ability to correct answers mid-game. At a glance, you can see names over here, rankings, and percent correct. You can also see all of the questions. These would be the questions right here, and then how the overall class did. This snapshot down here on the bottom right, I appreciated the difficult questions. They can mark them as difficult. They can mark that they need help. Poor fun, only got a 4% and a 7%. And you can also see if some people didn't finish all the questions, which is great because if you have someone who just kind of bailed halfway through, you'll know exactly who it was and how far they got. These two tools, whether working independent or in conjunction with each other, can take my students' understanding of their learning and progress to the next level. It'll achieve the use of SAMR, augmentation. Completing these 2 assessments was extremely quick. It took no longer than creating a traditional worksheet, and it actually streamlines and facilitates the process of collecting data on this topic. I may not have even gotten some of the data that I would have collected from these tools had it not been for the collection feature. My department is traditionally notoriously difficult to deal with or teach. We all do a great job. We're all lovely people, but we can be terrible students. These 2 tools require little professional development or instruction and can easily be integrated, especially with our blended schedule coming up this fall. They provide learning opportunities for our students, learning and understanding gauges for our teachers, and we don't have to budget for them. Worth the investment of time and energy for the payoff. Thanks for hanging in with me, and I will leave you with my We're Excited page.